managed to just engineer tofu that is so healthy that we can live off of it. So I think it's...
Maybe one day in the future, he speculates, maybe one day they will engineer tofu that is so healthy you can live off it. In contrast to meat, in contrast to cheese. Oh, will scientists ever discover tofu in the future that's healthier than meat or cheese? That's what he's waiting for.
If you had to get up every morning and reinvent civilization for yourself, it would be hard to be a civilized person.
Yes, if you had to wake up every morning and reinvent civilization, that would be hard. Waking up every morning and saying, cow milk on my cereal versus vanilla soy milk on my cereal. Which one's it going to be? That's really fucking easy.
À-bas-le-ciel.
The question from the audience is way more interesting than anything I've heard Sam Harris ever say on this topic.
So veganism is a topic that means an awful lot to me, and I'm not going to be one of those guys that, goes in here and tries to heckle people the way that vegans often get a reputation of militancy for. And I think that that's generally counterproductive. But my question is, people will often reason their way to a moral position, but you don't see them adopt that moral position in real life. And I'm wondering why there's that disconnect of reason and application. Robert Sapolsky, in his recent book, talked about associating things with disgust when it comes to morality, and there being you having to do something to that effect to actually apply morals that you reason to. I'm wondering what both of your thoughts are about this.
Yeah, well, it's hard to do what you acknowledge as good. That's one question. Whether or not veganism is actually the most moral prescription, I think we can debate that. But do you have a sense of the Akrasia problem, that you know what you should be doing, but you find it hard to actually do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is part of the human condition, and we do because we have these built-in drives.
In relation to cow milk, really? Like, really? You can remember, it's not that long ago, you can remember the difference between the taste of cow milk on breakfast cereal and soy milk on breakfast cereal. Really? Like, I think a lot of people are driven by terrible, dark passions. I was working out at the gym today. I'm surrounded by good-looking people, and some hideously ugly people. Both. I'd include both. Feelings of attraction and repulsion, and just curiosity. Also just weird, interesting people. You want to know what's up? I didn't say a goddamn word to anybody. I talked to this one guy, asked me to spot him, or the other day a guy talked to me about doing push-ups, asked for advice on push-ups, but you know what I mean. Sure, I mean, I think, a lot of people have biological urges that don't fit that well into their daily lives. Okay, you know what the best version of that? You've never been in this situation. Having a crush on a coworker. The office crush. That's like, the millions of years of evolution running straight into, all the conventions of the workplace. That's you've never done that, right? When I was in China for a while, I had a crush on a trainer at the gym. Whatever you want to call it, like woman who worked at the gym. I don't know what you call personal trainer, but she was also like a manager, that kind of thing. And there are real limits. Modern society places limits on those things, but both in terms of the desire burning in the human heart and the type of gratification that comes from, shall we say, giving in to that desire. I can't put it at all in the same. Okay, another one. This is really foreign to me. I'm not this kind of guy. What about revenge? If you read any ancient literature, anything, ancient Greek, ancient Roman, ancient Indian, but I think the whole ancient China, ancient Japan, everywhere I've read literature from. I'm leaving out a whole bunch of places. But, revenge, the culture of revenge, of desiring and yearning for revenge, and then modern society making revenge impossible. That you have a literature degree. I'm talking to my girlfriend off camera here. You must have read literature. Revenge is such a huge, every form, Russian literature, English literature. That's, to what extent that's biology, or what extent it's just desire, or whatever you want to say, it's just yearning. And then, I mean, basically in modern society, there is absolutely no acceptable form of revenge. Neither petty nor profound, neither legal nor illegal, And again, that can be in the workplace. Can be in the workplace. People can be wanting to get revenge on a coworker or their boss or, their employee. But, and there's a strong desire there, and for most people, there's a sense of gratification when it comes. I've really never been a revenge guy. That would be a separate video, like why that is about me, or like what, you look back and it's like, maybe I should be, like maybe the revenge people know something I don't, like really, I don't even think I'm morally superior. It's just to some extent how I'm wired and how I've lived my life and stuff. I haven't been about revenge. That would be a separate video though. But okay, any of these things, reproduction through revenge, I understand. And this kind of frankly bullshit, generalizations they're making about, the struggle between believing what's morally right, having a sense of what's moral, and then what you actually yearn to do. If somebody murdered your father in front of your eyes and you want revenge, any literature, any school of philosophy and history, those are the kinds of problems people deal with. That kind of thing. This is another. But the difference between having your breakfast cereal with cow milk versus soy milk, what the fuck, bro? Like, how weak are you? Like, being a vegan today in 2018, it doesn't even require any of the moral fiber that it required, a few decades ago when your diet really would have been broccoli and lentils, when you couldn't buy like soy ice cream. Like if you didn't make it yourself, there was no way you could get ice cream. Today you can get it everywhere. The difference between cow ice cream and soy ice cream. By the way, I'm not someone who likes ice cream to begin with. I really dislike cow ice cream anyway. Most of this stuff. Life without omelets. What the? I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And again, my girlfriend off camera, she's seen 899 out of my 900 videos at this point or something. We could use examples of cocaine. But look, okay, let's take the high road here. What about the yearning to write your own memoir, to write your autobiography? What about the yearning of the poet to write poetry, or to have his poetry find an audience, to have recognition for his art form? The yearning of the painter to paint. There are powerful desires, not all of them so dark and terrible. It's just the context of this discussion, I suppose, about giving into your dark and terrible urges. There are things that really drive people. I mean, I was really driven to study Korean Ojibwe. I was really driven to study Pali. Pali's an obscure language from Southeast Asia, a language Sam Harris knows nothing about. I was really, driven to do humanitarian work and stuff. And when you have those passions, this is also very crypto-Buddhist of me, but the more passions you have, even if they're positive, socially sanctioned passions, they're regarded positively in our society. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of suffering on that road. Presuming something that you're passionate about. But this it's just so weak to me. I can't. These are middle-aged men. Sam Harris is fully 50 years of age. Okay, you're talking to a 12-year-old, you're talking to a 15-year-old, and if a 15-year-old says to you, they don't know if they can live without chocolate ice cream. Okay, bro, you're 15. You don't know that much about what living with shit is like, and you don't know that much about what living without shit is like. 50-year-old grown-ass man with a PhD and a whole bunch of pretentious publications about Buddhist philosophy, written out of his ignorant ass. This is really low. This is really weak to me.
We like the taste of meat. We like a lot of things that we can't justify. And it's a question of a combination of self-control and of norms that we share that push us away from urges that we cannot justify. That is one part of our...
Really briefly, I think this is the weakest area of philosophy. There's a quote from Karl Marx that is in some ways completely untrue, where he says the purpose of philosophy is not to describe the world, but to change it. I do think there is a trap people can fall into where they're offering philosophical generalizations that serve absolutely no purpose aside from a descriptive one. I mean, do you want to describe to me what the purpose of a fly belt is in a car engine? You know what I mean? And how does the drivetrain connect to the... come on, my dude. this is actually the opposite of analysis. This is really the opposite of philosophy in a meaningful sense, what you're doing here.
It is one part of human nature, namely, you don't want to be looked down upon by the people you respect, can push back against another, namely, you enjoy activities that you can't justify.
That's it! That's all he has to fucking say! That's all he has to say! Sorry, it's mind-blowing. That's just mind-blowing to me. But anyway, whatever.
A lot of work that we can't individually do, right? So it's hard. If you had to get up every morning and reinvent civilization for yourself, it would be hard to be a civilized person.
Yes, if you had to wake up every morning and reinvent civilization, that would be hard. Waking up every morning and saying, cow milk on my cereal versus vanilla soy milk on my cereal. Which one's it gonna be? That's really fucking easy. It's really fucking easy for a rich, pampered piece of shit, famous for no fucking reason, vanity PhD, ignorant ass motherfucker who makes up bullshit about the Pali Canon out of his ass, never learned to read the Pali language, has absolutely no credentials in Buddhist meditation, and publishes one pretentious, self-indulgent ebook after another, and he gets nothing but praise from the liberal media because apparently he's the only guy who is pro-gun control and pro-airport checks and some other just slightly conservative bullshit, while also being an atheist. I mean, a public voice for atheists. Sam Harris has had the easiest fucking ride in the mainstream media. Sam Harris has had less scrutiny than Donald Trump in his election. I mean, there is no scrutiny of this man's values. The ultimate free ride, but he did at several points go out of his way to preach veganism, and then went out of his way to backpedal and make excuses for why he couldn't follow through. And this is it. It would just be so hard to wake up in the morning and reinvent civilization. That would be hard, and that's wildly irrelevant. You're dodging, and Sam, I don't even know if you really understand what it is you're dodging here.
It could come a time where we will look back on the details of factory farming, and it'll be like looking back on the slaveholders of...
Right, that'd be something. In the future, we can look back on the evils of factory farming and think about how terrible it was. And you can wake up every morning and drink cow milk and eat steaks for no fucking reason. Who can see the hypocrisy in this position Sam Harris has adopted?
The relatively distant past, and we'll just be aghast.
Right. So morality is something we apply to the distant past. Got it. Ethics doesn't have to do with the decisions we make over things we can control here and now. Decisions we can make here and now. Outcomes we can make here and now. It's something we reserve for passing judgment on the distant past. Deep, Sam. Deep. Oh.
So, I think there's an interesting ethical wrinkle with respect to the prospect of farming in such a way that the lives of farm animals are net positive.
We're really not disputing farming, though, are we? Like, you don't own a farm, Sam, and you're not about to influence or change anything done on a farm. Like, really, this is another dodge, even if you don't even... Well, we're discussing you as a consumer and you as a self-identified, self-styled ethical philosopher and leader, what difference you can make. And one of the differences you can make right now is adhering to a vegan diet that you yourself have repeatedly said is ethically superior to the dietary choices you make.
Right, so that it's better to have existed as a cow than to have not existed at all. And if we had some sense that these are indeed happy cows, well then it would be better to raise them and treat them well and then finally eat them than it would be.
Deeply immoral, even that perspective. Do we exist to vindicate the lives of the bears and the lions? Is it the purpose of humanity to bring meaning to the lives and deaths of bears and lions and wolves? No. Our role is not to imbue their lives with meaning or value. Our role is to get out of their way and let them live and die in the wild, to have all the joys and all the sorrows of being wild animals. Not to have them live in a steel cage under a steel sky where they're, forcibly impregnated, have their babies stolen from them, killed and eaten to be milked, etc., etc. The unspeakable evils of factory farming, and also not to have cushions and carpeting added to that concrete floor in the steel factory to make you feel better about your ludicrous, impossible to justify dietary choices, Sam. Oh, wow. He's on the wrong foot. He's on the wrong foot to an unbelievable extent here.
Finally eat them than it would be to not have done any of that and manage to just engineer tofu that is so healthy that we can live off of it. So I think it's...
Maybe one day in the future, he speculates, maybe one day they will engineer tofu that is so healthy you can live off it. In contrast to meat, in contrast to cheese. Oh, will scientists ever discover tofu in the future that's healthier than meat or cheese? That's what he's waiting for. When do you think it's going to be? 2030? You think he's going to be an old gray man? He's going to be like, well, they finally came out with that new tofu. I mean, it was a close thing. I mean, like over here you have bacon. You just look at the macros and health effects of bacon. Over here you have tofu. Do you think he's even aware of the extent to which he's lying? I think he's being dishonest, most of all with himself,
So I think it's an interesting ethical problem, but I would certainly acknowledge that what we have currently is not like that, and that it is a horror show. So.
That's a wrap.
À-bas-le-ciel.